Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's overnighter is going to be a no tent overnighter. So I've got my ground sheet set up right now. I've got my sleeping bag that I'm just getting out of my backpack. And then I also have my sleeping pad that I'm going to set up. And I'm going to place all my other items like my boots and my clothing inside of my sleeping bag. Because as you can see, it is incredibly windy out here today. And I want all that weight to hold down my sleeping bag so it doesn't blow it off into the woods. Now, with it being very windy, it is also incredibly cold out. It is minus 22 degrees Celsius currently, and it is going down to minus 26 overnight tonight with a massive wind chill on top of that. So I've nestled into this low area to try and get away from the wind as much as possible. I do have a freshwater creek over behind the camera, and I've got a pretty decent amount of firewood surrounding me in this area. So I'm going to continue getting my sleeping area set up, and then like I said, I'm going to put as much gear inside of my sleeping bag to weigh it down as I can and leave my backpack off to the side, and then gather up some firewood and make a fire area off to the side because I don't want any embers landing on my gear. So got a little bit of work to do, but I'm going to get unpacked and get it all set up. Alright, so I got my sleep area all configured with my ground sheet, my sleeping pad, and then my down sleeping bag. I've even taken off my wool sweater just for the time being, placed it on top. It's nice and heavy. It should hold the sleeping bag down while this wind is blowing through. And I'm going to be working up a sweat, so you'll notice I already have my jacket unzipped. This is a down jacket. It does hold in a lot of warmth. And I'm going to continue doing this throughout the day and probably into the evening until it gets frigid cold to the point where I'm not sweating anymore from moving around, setting things up, and gathering firewood. So moving on from that to this, I do have my entire cook area kind of set up over here just for now. I've got my cook set, I've got my pot, I've got my kettle and coffee, spoon and fork, and then I also have my saw, which brings us to the next chore because we don't have a shelter, so it's going to be very, very cold later on. This saw is an absolute lifeline, so I'm going to be using this very shortly. I'm going to go around the area and collect all the firewood that I can, and then I'm going to pick out a suitable location for a fire where it's not too windy and it's not going to blow the embers over towards my sleeping area and damage any of my gear. So let's go find some firewood. All right, so I got the campfire going and that is nice and warm. I do have a bunch of firewood collected right here in front of me, a mix of softwood and hardwood. I am enjoying a cup of coffee and I do have a whole kettle full of coffee right next to me. I've got my wax canvas on top of 2 logs, so I got a nice little bench here, nice and dry. Plus I've got this tree as a backrest. So just to bring you guys up to speed a little bit, kind of show you what I've got going on here. Update as far as time goes. The time is getting late in the day, so I've been looking up at the hill and the sun is about 45 minutes away from dipping below that hill, which means all of this golden sunlight is going to be gone for the day and it's going to start to get even colder. So this fire is definitely going to keep me warm while I'm out here. I am cooking over the fire too, I should mention that. I'm going to be cooking over the fire with my grill, so I'm going to get my food on there shortly. But I just wanted to bring you guys up to speed, show you where I'm at, what I've got done. And I'm just going to enjoy my coffee before I start cooking over the fire. So I'm going to take a few minutes and relax. All right, so come over to my backpack. I'm just grabbing my supper items. I got my sausage and my grill for the fire. Before I forget on this trip, I do want to mention my sleep system because I know I'm going to get asked questions about it. The temperatures, to recap, are minus 22 degrees Celsius when I came out here, and it's going down to minus 26 degrees Celsius. Now my sleeping bag is an Outdoor Vitals 0 degree Fahrenheit, which is negative 18 degrees Celsius. So the sleeping bag is definitely going to go beyond its rating this evening, but I paired that with my NeoWear X-Therm Max sleeping pad from Thermarest. That has an R value of 6.9, and as a standalone pad for these temperatures, I can sleep on that no problem. So I've got my ground sheet underneath of it, blocking it from moisture and protecting it from punctures. And then I've just got the pad, so the pad will keep me warm most likely. I'll let you guys know in the morning if I do get a chill overnight, but I'm very confident in that pad. I've used it in very cold conditions and it has been perfect. The sleeping bag, however, like I said, it's only rated for negative 18 degrees Celsius. So the trick that I'm going to use is I have little booties that I wear. They're actually called Baffin Cush booties. So they're slippers that you wear inside of your sleeping bag. I'm going to be putting those on with fresh socks. I have long johns. I have another long sleeve shirt, a full change of clothes in there, plus my black down jacket that I'm going to wear with my hoodie. But my wool hoodie is going to come off and be a pillow. If I do find myself getting a chill throughout the night, I will take this out from my head because it's going to be a pillow, like I said, and I'll drape it over top of my body as an added kind of blanket inside of the sleeping bag. So that should get me through no problem. But I'll touch on that in the morning and let you guys know how warm I was and what I had to do to stay warm if I get cold. But for now, it's supper time, so I'm going to head back over to the fire pit, get this on the grill, and get cooking while we still have a little bit of sunlight. All right, supper is finally ready and it tastes awesome. So let me explain what I've got going on here. I brought a sausage that was already flavored cheddar and jalapeno, and then I went ahead and put curry powder and black peppercorn on one side, put it on the fire, cooked it, and then flipped it. So what that does is it put the curry side on the bottom side, which is right there, and then I piped on mustard on top. So when I pick them up and put them in my mouth, the first flavor that hits it is curry and black pepper, which is awesome, followed by the cheddar, jalapeno, and then the mustard. Excellent camp snack. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I want to eat these up, and then I'm going to clean up my cooking area, get some more wood on the fire, crack into a cold beer. All right, guys, checking in with you. It has been a few hours now since the last time I checked in. I've been really just relaxing. I've actually been really enjoying just kind of slowing down for a change of pace. Usually I'm always on the go with photos and film, and today is just kind of a relaxed day. I just took, 2-3 hours and decided I'm just going to relax, and that's what I did. But I did manage to find one more tree. As I was sitting here, I could see it standing in the distance, and it's really hard to turn up a good piece of firewood when it's just staring at you. So I ended up going over, cutting it down. I've got half of it on the fire right now. It is a very large hardwood tree. I've got the other half behind me. That is all I'm going to be putting on the fire for tonight, because that is a lot of wood, and that fire is an inferno, throwing some massive heat, getting nice and dry. So the wood that's off to the side, I'm going to try and save for the morning fire. That'll be for morning coffee, morning breakfast, and morning warmth to warm up, and then it'll be time to get out of here. But for this evening, that is basically it. That's it for the fire. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to continue getting the snow dried off my feet now after collecting the wood. But I'm basically going to be sitting here until it's time to roll into the sleeping bag and hopefully have a nice warm night. So I will say it is very cold out, and right now I feel like it's summertime because I'm right in front of this fire. But as soon as I go 2 feet away from the fire, you kind of smacked in the face with that bitter cold. Very cold, and it's still very windy out also. So that's basically all I've got for you guys for an update. Like I said, I'm just going to sit in front of the fire, and then I will slowly make my way over to the sleeping bag. I'll bring you guys in for that as well. And then I'm going to pack all my camera gear away and basically head into the sleeping bag and off to sleep for the evening. Alright guys, basically time to get into bed now. So I'm going to do this rather quickly because it is cold out. So I'm going to be throwing my down jacket on after I take off my wool hoodie. These are my slippers. These are the Cush booties that I was talking about. These are absolutely awesome. Keep your feet nice and warm. So those are going on. Fresh socks, fresh clothing, crawl in, and be done with it. So I just wanted to show this to you guys. I'm now going to pack the camera away because I have to sleep with the camera, which is extremely uncomfortable when camping like this. But just to keep the batteries and the camera nice and warm, I pack it down into the foot end of my sleeping bag so it's ready to go for the morning time. So this is basically it for me tonight, and I'm going to catch you guys first thing in the morning for some coffee and some oatmeal. Good night, guys. Good morning, everybody. It is a freezing cold morning out today. I just got the fire going and I got lucky. I thought I was going to have to use my fire steel, but there were actually coals still left in there from one of the big punky logs. So I put a handful of birch bark in there, brought it back to life, and it took off rather quickly. So I do still have a bunch of wood left over from last night. That will be more than enough for this morning just to do coffee and breakfast. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to get that water boiled up, make up some coffee and some oatmeal, and then I'm going to explain to you guys what happened last night, because it was an interesting night. So I'm going to get this coffee done, get warmed up, and then I'll talk to you guys a little bit about last night. Okay guys, breakfast is all done, and I gotta say that oatmeal, perfect. I haven't had oatmeal on a trip in probably a couple weeks, and that was definitely worth packing. So I still got my coffee. I probably got about 2 more cups left in my kettle, and that fire is putting out a lot of nice warmth right now. It's freezing cold out, guys. It is freezing. So last night it was extremely cold outside once I moved away from the fire. As soon as I crawled into my sleeping bag, I could feel the warmth building immediately. So I was not cold at all last night inside of my sleeping bag on top of my sleeping pad. Not cold at all until the sun came up this morning, and I could actually see up in the sky through a little crack, because I had that sleeping bag cinched down to a little tiny hole for my nose to stick out basically, and I could see sunlight up in the sky through the little crack of the sleeping bag. And that's how I knew it was time to get up. So I eventually got up, got dressed, came over here, lit the fire. But let's talk a little bit about last night. So probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours after I got into my sleeping bag, the winds were howling. I had two small pine cones land on top of my sleeping bag. I could feel them tapping on top. And I thought a branch is going to come down any minute now. So that did not happen, but it was really windy, and then the wind died off, and this horrific screeching sound of two raccoons fighting. Probably, I was sleeping just over here, so you can see the sleeping bag just behind me over there. And probably about 25 feet away from my sleeping bag is that creek. Just on the other side of the creek, got some smoke blowing in my face. Just on the other side of the creek, there were two raccoons going at it, something fierce, and just the screeches and the noises coming from those raccoons was absolutely, it sounded out of a horror movie. Now I knew exactly what it was when I was laying there, and I immediately opened up the mouth hole of the sleeping bag. I had my headlamp on. Yeah, I get smoked out. I had my headlamp on, and I turned it on, and I could see them on the other side, and they both stopped, and they both stared right at me. Their eyes and their faces, it was classic, just staring right at me. And I let out a holler, and they both took off. But man, that sound, my heart got going, because I was just thinking if they come over to me, either my sleeping bag or my sleeping pad is going to end up with a few holes in it, and that's not going to be good. So luckily that did not happen. They took off, and then I could hear them chattering. They make that weird kind of talking, chattering sound. I could hear that way, way up on the hill, ever so faintly, and a little squeal. So they were fighting again way up there, but I just thought it was funny. I was laying there, and they started fighting just on the other side of the creek. I got up, headlamp on, and just the look of their faces, they just kind of froze, like they had no idea I was there. So it was pretty funny. They took off, and then I went back to sleep, and then here we are in the morning. I woke up, and campfire coffee, oatmeal. So all in all, pretty good time, but it is absolutely frigid cold still. So I do have to get my gear behind me way back there to the sleeping bag. I got to get that packed up, jam it inside of the backpack, and then get all my cooking gear packed away as soon as I'm done with my coffee, because this is priority number one right now. Okay guys, I got the entire sleep system packed away in the pack, and that has got to be the best part about sleeping with no shelter. There is no shelter to set up or tear down. It's just sleeping bag, sleeping pad, and ground sheet. So very, very easy, very simple. Now I did put the sleeping bag in here out of the stuff sack so it will loft up, because the current size pack that I'm using is a 50-liter pack. Realistically, I could go with a 35-liter pack with the setup that I've had with me today, but that would mean that I would have to put everything in a stuff sack and cram it into the backpack. This 50-liter actually allows me to put things in there loosely and then let them expand. So the sleeping bag will expand, filling all those voids and giving the bag a really nice shape so it's not flopping around. So that is basically it. I've got to get all my cooking kit and stuff in there, my wax canvas roll on the bottom, and then get this fire snuffed out, and that is it. It's going to be hit the trail time. So thank you guys very much for sticking around and hanging out with me on this adventure. It was awesome. Very, very cold day. It's going to be frigid once I leave that fire. I know it is. But as soon as I hit the trail, start hiking, I'll work up a sweat and might even be able to take off this hoodie. Who knows? I'm not going to push my luck with that. But I do thank you guys for watching, as always. And if you guys have any questions, drop it down in the comment section. I'll be sure to get back to you. And I'm going to pack up and see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.